Hi. I am often asked, how do you know which stocks are worth sleuthing? It is time consuming, isn't it? Yes, it is. But it sure is worth it. In my first book, The Sleuth Investor, I gave a few methods. One of my favorites was picking up tech turnarounds based on how much you pay for the R&D, the research and development of the last few years, usually 3 or 4 years. This works best for small techs. But what of big ones? Does this work there too? It does. There the ratio can be a bit higher, but big techs rarely go to such low valuation that you can pick up the R&D for a song. For big companies, both tech and non-tech, you need other sifting formulas. Like which? In my second book, The Advanced Sleuth Investor, coming soon, I give such a method too. It computes two indicators, one of a company quality, the other of value. The one for quality I call Q, summing up sales growth, gross margins, and return on capital. As for the price you pay for it, here you simply divide the Q by the EV to EBITDA and get what I call V, for value. Now you may ask, what if both methods pick up the same stock? This is rare, but it does happen. And when it does, the sky can be the limit, subject, of course, to sleuthing. It happened 10 years ago with Netflix. Netflix began by sending movies to customers by mail on a disc. Then the CEO, Reed Hastings, realized the world is changing with the internet. So he went cold turkey into streaming. He wrote off inventory, fired people, hired new ones, and changed the business fast, no delay. The company reported a huge loss and the stock fell 80%. But it then came up on both my sifting methods, the R&D and the quality and value. I won't say if I bought some. But Carl Icahn, one of the best seasoned sleuth investors around, pounced on it and bought 9% of the company for $300 million. This, I am told, was on the advice of his son, Brett Icahn, who apparently inherited his father's sleuthing genes. In 15 months, the stock rose 5.5 times what Carl Icahn paid for it. Without hesitation, he sold most of it. His son objected, by the way, so Carl kept some shares, luckily, as you will soon see. Now, why am I mentioning all this? For 3 reasons. First, to prove to you that the pre-sleuthing sifting method does work. Second, that the methods let you see what others often don't see. Netflix change of business was happening publicly in plain sight. However, only Carl Icahn saw the huge multi-bagger opportunity, or rather his son saw it. All others missed it, almost all. But the third reason, there may be another potential multi-bagger opportunity hiding in plain sight right now, which everybody else is missing. Maybe. Which one is that? The answer, of course, is Meta, the old Facebook, META symbol. Its old business is getting old, as do its users. Young people are watching TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, not Facebook. So what is Meta doing about it? Well, Mark Zuckerberg, CEO and controlling shareholders, has gone full tinfoil hat into the metaverse. That is, he thinks everyone should adopt an avatar which will interact with others' avatars in an imaginary universe. And this, please note, while having a small fridge cover your eyes, called an Oculus. The entire thing is called VR, or virtual reality. Very few are buying into it, but Zuckerberg is not giving up. He's doubling down. His R&D, research and development for this, is about $25 billion a year. That's billion with a B. And yet, very few are sold on it. So why does Zuck continue? Because he believes in it. Is he really wrong? In my opinion, maybe only half wrong. But the not wrong half may be huge. Why? Because if Zuck's huge R&D get Meta into a real market somehow with real revenues, competitors can never touch him, since a competitor would then have to spend the same amount plus marketing and admin to get in. How does Meta stock come up on the 2 pre-sleuthing sifting models? Very well indeed, on both. First, on the R&D value. Enterprising value is $290 billion, and the company spent $60 billion on R&D over the last 3 years. For big techs, This ratio of about 5 times is reasonably cheap. But how much of this went on the metaverse boondoggle? I had estimates of between almost all to only half. However, very few would agree to put little fridges over their eyes. So, no virtual reality market probably, also known as VR. This may have to be written off, like Netflix wrote off all CD business. What then would remain is a fruit of this huge R&D, just the software to connect more than 1 billion people and the data about them and do it with a huge streaming that advertiser would pay for. But what can Meta do with all this if VR is no good? How about AR? AR is augmented reality, not full immersion like VR, but information superimposed on what you see. Like the old Google glasses? Yes, like them. But they did not work, did they? No, they didn't. However, there's now another technology, a contact lens that goes right over your eyes, like the kind people use today to correct the vision. Such a lens puts the information right into your eyeball. Some companies in the US are already working on such lenses, and if any becomes commercially viable, they can be connected to Meta's app, and then you'd have direct info stream as you go through your life. Can you imagine such a value of such a business in the advertising business? That's like what modern jet fighter pilot get, minus the ads, when the computer flashes information on the windshield just before them. And what some modern cars already do. If this ever works, then Meta has a huge market by the tail, if they can do it. If. So is Meta a buy? Hold your horses. First, you have to sleuth the business thoroughly. I tried to, and did not get very far. I asked a family member who is connected to the Bay Area venture capital network to check for me, and he said no one knows. I called a few tech engineers who work on visual information delivery, and they also knew very little. Apparently, it's all handled directly by Zuckerberg himself. Now, what about the second model I use for sifting? The one for big companies, the one that appears in my second book, the one soon to be published. This one looks at the two indicators, one of quality, the other of value. The one for quality I call Q, in Meta's case, is about 50, middling value, because the revenue growth stalled. But of the price you pay for it, here you divide the Q by the EV to EBITDA and get what I call V for value. And because Meta's EV to EBITDA is extremely low, at 6.7, Bobkes, what you get is a V for value of 7.5, which is very high. So, quality is okay, but the value is high. What about the future? For this, you have to do some sleuthing. Is it worth now the time and the aggravation? This you have to decide for yourself. But from experience, I can give you two relevant facts. The first, internal turnarounds, that is, a drastic change in business, like both in Meta and in Netflix, is addictive because of the drama in it. I know of what I speak. I suffer from this addiction myself. In fact, Carl Icahn himself suffered from it too. See the case of his current involvement with Xerox, which began in 2016 and has gone south since then. So just because Meta's Q and V are high and market cap to R&D is low, doesn't make it a sure thing. But it does make sleuthing time here not a bad investment. What's the second fact? It's that when you do catch such a turnaround, it can go up a lot. And I do mean a lot. Even after you had finally sold, it can still go up, which usually is super aggravating. I can testify to this also. He sold Netflix at 5.5 times what he bought it for. But after he sold, the stock went up 5 times more. This meant that Icahn made $1 billion, but he left $5 billion on the table. So he only made 5 times on the first bit of investment, but he left 5 times on the money he sold. How was that for a heartburn? In Icahn's case, it was, of course, mitigated by a father's pride in his son. All right, what about Meta stock then? 3 things. First, its market cap buys you a lot of good R&D and a lot of customers. Second, the future business depends on technology which Meta doesn't yet have. Third, there probably has to be a write-off or a write-down before the new upleg can start. Similar to Netflix. If the upleg starts, of course, because it may not work. But if it does, if Meta can surprise on the upside, just like Netflix did, will it? That's where your own sleuthing must come in. See it as an exercise that can bring you a lot of comfortable retirement. How to go about this sleuthing? Buy my first book, The Sleuth Investor, and read it. It'll tell you about the first method plus other methods. Then buy my second book, The Advanced Sleuth Investor, which is coming up. It'll tell you about the other method. Then you'll have a leg up or two legs on all those who didn't read the books. That's all for today. Please let me know in the comments below what you think of the above. And if you like it, give it a like and subscribe. Then resend to your friends so they subscribe too. I'll see you next time. And meantime, thank you very much for watching.